and welcome to Universus. Today we're going to be talking about how to stop the shift. So this week we saw some very powerful cards coming in with some very cool abilities, and the very cool thing about them is they stick around. Once your turn is ended and they clear from your card pool, they get built down as backups with some very cool and impactful abilities that mean that they are a threat that has to be dealt with. So rather than letting them hit the stage, letting them be built down, how can we stop the shift? Shift cards are built down, transformed when they clear during your end step if you had played them this turn. So we don't have to worry about people cheating them in using card pool clogs. We don't really have to worry about the Titans coming in from blocks or from other sneaky means. There are a couple which we will get into. But generally, the best way that we're going to be seeing them come down is they'll be played as attacks and built down during the end step. Once the conditions are met, how do we stop the attack? How do we stop it from ever getting built down? The first and probably most obvious answer that people come across is you just seal the attack. Shift is a keyword ability. If you can seal the attack, it becomes a blank card and that keyword ability goes away. The best example of this is Sir Night Eye, who just lets you seal a card in the card pool. So you block the attack, you seal the card in the card pool, and that's the end of it. If your opponent then has multiple shift cards to play, that's something we'll have to come across, but that's also very resource intensive. Another thing you can do to remove the keyword ability that isn't through sealing is you can use cards like Study Group Leader, which is a bit tougher because they have to have already played a copy of it. And of course there is Confused. Confused is a very powerful card for getting rid of shift abilities because not only do you get to then remove another attack from the discard, you also then get to remove the keyword shift and it can no longer gain keywords, so it can't get that keyword back. That attack just doesn't have the ability to shift. That is very, very powerful. It is like we have gagged the attack. If you do not have the symbol or means to seal or remove the keyword, then you can always look at flipping the attack. I am not quite sure if this actually works because it depends if shift creates a condition when played or if it triggers on clear. If it creates a condition when played, unfortunately it does say this card when this card clears, so it would still trigger on the clear. But if it is just an effect that triggers on the clear rather than a condition created, then it is face down, it cannot activate its keyword abilities, and it gets removed. So things like Faith Shields and Condescending Explanation will be great answers to the shift cards. The other thing to take in from the reminder text and the shift ability is that it only triggers on the end step. So if you can force that card to clear early, or if you can remove it from the card pool, then the attack doesn't get to shift. So if you have things like Decoy, Duplicate, or Cape of No Return, you are going to be able to take these massive attacks and kick them from the card pool, remove them, and not let them get shifted. The big issue there is your opponent will know that you have these in stage, so we'll play around them. That's just how this game works. But unfortunately for our opponents, we do have hand traps. We have Genkai's Guidance, a very powerful card, and if your opponent plays a shift card, not only do they have to expend more resources due to the increased difficulty of these shift attacks, they then just get removed for the cost of 3 foundations. The other thing we can do, which someone did point out and I find is really, really cool, is you can just keep it in the card pool. Now this is very specific, similar to Seal with Sanai. That Chronostasis trigger will allow you to hold that shift attack in your opponent's card pool into your turn. If we do see shift attacks becoming more and more popular, Chronostasis is a great answer because not only do you get to save an attack for your next turn if you block with it, you get to prevent your opponent from shifting down, and your opponent having to play around that ability becomes a lot harder because essentially you start taxing them further with progressive difficulty while they wait for Chronostasis trigger to be used. That is so cool. Now, I alluded to it earlier, but currently we have seen 2 Titans which do enter in from block. We have the Small Titan, which is not a shifting card, but is still relevant here. And we have the Armored Titan, both of which say when you block with it, you may respond and build it down. Now, easiest answer to this is make them fail the check for the block. Easy, done. It gets cleared from the card pool, and it's not the end phase. That's done. But that's not always possible. Sometimes people check sixes. It's really hard to do. So you can seal the block. Cards like He and Hulking Grimace basically stop their abilities from being used. Hulking Grimace seals it, and He discards it and prevents them from using any abilities on it. That's very, very important. So just being able to seal the attack, remove that responsibility, and say, nope, you don't get to build that down, and with He you need to block it again, is very, very cool. And it's great to see He getting a little bit of love. And then, because it's a responsibility, we do have access to ways to stop this. Similar to Decoy and Cape, if you have Incredible Display down, your opponent will know this, and unfortunately may play around it, but then they're still not building their backups for free. So, that's a great answer. You just commit the Incredible Display, it cancels the response, and the card stays in the card pool, unless they have their own Incredible Display, of course. Or there is hand traps for this as well, with Good versus Evil, which allow you to respond to it and just cancel the response with your action. That is huge, and these hand traps are going to be very important into just lulling your opponent into a false sense of security around these massive attacks, and just saying, no, you're not going to get to do that. I'm sorry, I can't let you do that. So they stay in the capital, they do not get to get shifted down. And I think cancelling the response is a very cool way to get around it. Those are the solutions I have come up with to rein in the shift mechanic. But I'm sure there's more out there. I'm sure there's some I've missed. What solutions have you come up with to stop these cards from shifting? What are there any methods that I have actually missed, or methods that are better than the ones I've come up with? We need to be well armed as we move into the battle for humanity next month. So, I'll catch you next time and let me know.